Welcome to CFTC Talks. I'm your host, Andy Bush, Chief Market Intelligence Officer for the CFTC. Just a quick reminder, as always, there's an important disclaimer at the end of the show that you should listen to. It's time for another FlashCast. Now, if you haven't heard one of these before, a FlashCast is a podcast that's short and on a single subject. Now, I'd love to hear how we're doing. So please send us an email for suggestions or improvements or ideas for other FlashCasts by using podcast, podcasts, at cftc.gov. So today we bring on CFTC's Director of the Whistleblower Office, Chris Ehrman, to discuss really not only what is the Whistleblower Office, but also the recent awards to whistleblowers of more than $45 million. Chris, welcome to CFTC Talks FlashCast.
Thank you so much, Annie. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Hey, for our audience, provide some background on the CFTC's whistleblower program. When did it start? Why did it start? And really, what's the goal of the program?
Well, we were created in 2010 as part of the Dodd-Frank amendments. The office was stood up officially in 2011, and it's designed to provide incentives and protections for folks who have information about potential violations of the Commodity Exchange Act or the CFTC's rules. And in doing that, it's sort of a twofold thing. First, you've got these heightened confidentiality. So if someone comes forward, we do everything in our power to ensure that we keep their identity as confidential as we can for as long as we can. And in addition to that, there's anti-retaliation protections. If an employer attempts to retaliate against someone for communicating with us, that's a violation of our rules, and we can bring an enforcement action against them for that. And in addition, if they provide information that's valuable enough that it leads to a successful enforcement action of more than $1 million, the Commission will pay between 10 and 30% of any monetary sanctions that we collect. So it's a robust program. We're very happy with it. It's continuing to grow, and I think things will only get better from here.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I was just thinking, are there other agencies in the U.S. government that have similar programs?
There are. The SEC and the CFTC programs were launched simultaneously. Our rules are ostensibly identical to theirs. Initially, they were not, for reasons I never quite grasped. But the good thing is the Commission decided that we needed to adopt and harmonize our rules with the SEC, so now we have the same heightened protections, and that's the best part. We both provide money, and it's the same 10 to 30% regime, and their program is working well as well. And since we're brother and sister agencies, we work with them as much as we can. Sometimes the facts, it's hard to tell whether it's a CFTC action or an SEC action. We don't expect our whistleblowers to have perfect knowledge of our various jurisdictions, so it's always a joy when we can work with them, and there have been cases in the past where both the CFTC and the SEC brought actions.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. And I think it makes perfect sense to work together. I from the outside coming into this agency, I did not know or delineate the differences between the two. I just thought you went after bad guys, which is a good thing, right? So I can imagine somebody whistleblowing not sure exactly what space to get into. But let me transition from that thought into how does this program assist the CFTC in pursuing enforcement cases? I mean, how effective has it been?
It's been extremely effective. You hear the term game changer a lot, but I think that's right. Just back of the envelope, I'd say between 30 to 40% of our active investigations right now involve whistleblowers. These are people who have come forward. It's been much more successful than I thought. We've always continued to grow. We're getting more and more complaints year over year, more applications for awards year over year, and certainly a lot more payments year over year. That's the best thing. Just over the past few months, we've been paying out an award for $30 million, and then we paid 3 other awards out simultaneously for about $45.5 million. So certainly we're getting the attention of people with high-quality information, and in providing that information to us, we're getting info that we may not get, or if we were to get it ourselves, it would be much more expensive and time-consuming. So what we're designed to do here is to reward people for coming forward and helping us move things along and do what our job is to do, and that's to ensure that there's market integrity.
Yeah, I think trust has so much to do with the markets, and certainly for everybody out there, there are some people that look at regulation as like, oh, this is just a drag on the markets and so on. I would say this. Trust is so key that if you don't have this in place, then you really you have the possibility of losing that trust in the markets, and therefore you have the potential to lose people using those markets. So regulators have, kind of key roles, I think. I mean, I'm saying that from the CFTC, but I think it's really important for people to understand that. And what's interesting about this program, Chris, that you're in charge of, is that, and I didn't realize that it was 30 to 40% of all the enforcement cases that the Division of Enforcement is looking at and is working on come from your group.
Yes, it's amazing just the value we get. We're getting hundreds of tips throughout the year, and granted, not everything's going to be great, but the great thing is, though, is that the information that is coming in is typically of higher quality than we would normally get. Folks, I mean, when you're a whistleblower, you can potentially take some risks. I mean, sometimes there's a potential that you could be found out, or that your career you could be blackballed potentially if someone finds out. These are things we don't want to happen, but there's always a risk in coming forward because people may view your cooperating with us negatively. I don't agree with that, and unfortunately, that's the reality. So that's why we have these protections in place, as well as these monetary incentives. So if people come forward with extremely valuable information, we will compensate them for that. I mean, right now, we paid out 9 awards totaling
walk us through
$87 million.
Yeah, walk us through some of those. I mean, I think that's really important to show that people do take this very seriously, and that they're actively engaged in making sure that wrongdoing is exposed.
Absolutely, and like you said, we have to have confidence in our marketplace, and there's a reason why the capital raising process in the United States is one of the cheapest in the world, because we have robust regulations, we have robust enforcement mechanisms set up. Not only do we have laws, we enforce them, and that's the great thing. And this is just another way of ensuring that any valuable information that's out there, we get it as quickly as possible, and we incentivize people to do that. The awards have various factors that can make an award go up or make an award go down, and we certainly incentivize people to come as early as possible. So the sooner they get in, and if they help start an investigation, that is all the more valuable, and that gets them up near the 30% range.
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense. All right, so last question. What does the future hold for your whistleblower program? I mean, what are you going to be focused on for the next year?
I think we're just going to be focusing on the growth. I mean, when I got to the CFTC 5 years ago, there were 3 of us. Now there's 9 of us. When I first got here, there weren't a lot of TCRs coming in. That's the reference for the tip, the complaint, and the referral. It's a form we take in. And it's just been this steady growth. So I think the most important thing is we're going to start seeing awards being paid out much more regularly. I would expect 2 to 3 a year is a conservative estimate, but I can see it happening because there are just so many awards in the pipeline. We're going to be doing a lot of work in processing the applications, working with whistleblowers, telling them about the program, and ensuring that they are compensated for their valuable information, which benefits us, benefits them, and it benefits the marketplace.
Okay, Director of CFTC's Whistleblower Office, Chris Ehrman, thanks for coming on the show today.
Absolutely, Andy. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. All right, that wraps up our 3rd CFTC Talks FlashCast. I hope you enjoyed it, and you can check out more about the Whistleblower program at whistleblower.gov. I'm Andy Bush, Chief Market Intelligence Officer for the CFTC. Thanks for listening. This has been CFTC Talks.
But wait, we're not done yet. It's time for a disclaimer. The CFTC is providing this information as a public service, and it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of CFTC policy. Reference to any specific product, service, trademark, manufacturer, or service provider does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by the CFTC. The CFTC is not liable to any consumer or any third party for any direct, indirect, incidental, consequential, special, or exemplary damages or lost profit related to the use of the information provided or referenced in this podcast. Selection of guests on the podcast does not imply an endorsement of any particular individual or entity. Many individuals and entities provide similar services to those of the guests. The views and opinions expressed by the guests in the podcast are their own and not specifically endorsed by the CFTC. Moreover, the information provided in this podcast should not be construed as investment advice. Consumers should rely on their own inquiries as to accuracy and relevance of the information incorporated or referenced in this podcast and assume the entire risk related to its use. The CFTC is providing its interpretation of market trends solely to inform the public of a framework for projecting possible outcomes under different scenarios. If you have any questions concerning the meaning or application of a particular law or rule administered by the CFTC, please consult an attorney.